Ethan Miller felt like his head was about to explode. He looked at the two groups screaming at each other and sighed. What are we supposed to do? One side is Joe's family. The other is Brenda Reed's. We're just here to keep the peace. Just wait. The police are on their way. At that moment, several young, burly laborers from Eastern Construction arrived. They managed to pull the two brawling factions apart, though the air remained thick with insults and creative profanity. Ethan watched the drama unfold with the detached interest of a theater critic. He leaned toward his dad and whispered, "What's the deal? I thought Joe Dawson was hauled off yesterday." The evidence pointed to assault. Why is his family here causing a scene? David rubbed his temples. Joe is claiming that Brenda was his mistress. Look, you're just a kid. You shouldn't be asking about this stuff. By the way, aren't you supposed to be checking your preliminary scores today? How did it go? Do you have enough for community college at least? In David's world, no corporate scandal could compete with his son's future. Ethan curled his lip. Can't you have a little more faith in me? You really think I'm only community college material? We just don't want to put pressure on you, David said earnestly. As long as you gave your best shot, we're good. Even if it's just a 2-year degree, we'll take it. You're still my son. I'm solid for a 4-year university, Ethan said. Maybe even a top-tier one. We'll see. David's eyes widened, looking more comical than impressed. You think you can swing a top-tier school? Maybe Oak Ridge University? Ethan's mind, however, was on Chicago University. It wasn't just about being in the same city as Maya Vance. Chicago was the land of opportunity. If he could buy a few rundown properties there early on, he could retire by 30. As for the Ivy Leagues, a bit out of reach and too far from home. Based on his scores from his previous life, his English would definitely be higher this time around. He had blanked on the last 2 chemistry problems in his first life, and he still couldn't remember them now. But surely he had a 600-plus score in the bag. Unless his rebirth had triggered some butterfly effect in the grading center, he was golden. Ethan changed the subject. Where's your CEO? Speak of the devil. Break it up. A middle-aged man around 5'7", wearing glasses and sporting a well-groomed stubble, marched in. He was followed by a woman in a sleek professional suit and a rugged man in casual wear. This was Arthur Artie Henderson, the head of the Oak Ridge branch of Eastern Construction. What is this? This is a place of business, not a flea market. Artie's voice was sharp, his mood clearly foul. The woman beside him wasn't an employee. She was a high-profile contact from the industry, and this was an embarrassing first impression. He had important matters to discuss, and he had walked right into a circus. Mr. Henderson, Brenda Reed's brother, is a maniac. Fiona cried out, her face streaked with tears. I was just trying to stop the fight, and look what he did to me. I'm calling the cops. I am suing. I've never been hit like this in my life. When Sean Reed heard the big boss had arrived, he charged forward. You're the CEO? My sister works for you, and your manager dragged her into a room and forced himself on her during work hours. I want a settlement. I don't care if it comes from the company or the Dawsons. $500,000, and I won't take a penny less. Ethan looked at Sean and almost laughed. The guy was a total bottom feeder, a thug with zero foresight. Demanding a payout like this in the middle of a corporate office was idiocy at its finest. What Ethan didn't know was that Sean had lost a fortune gambling a few days ago and was drowning in debt to some very unpleasant loan sharks. The interest was compounding daily, and he was desperate. Brenda's scandal was his lottery ticket. He hadn't even told her he was here. He knew the Dawsons wouldn't pay, but he figured a big company would pay for silence. $500,000 was the opening bid. He'd have been thrilled with 50. Unfortunately for him, he had miscalculated his leverage. Artie Henderson looked at him with pure disgust. The police haven't even finished the investigation. Why on earth would we pay you? This is a matter between your sister and Joe Dawson. The company will take responsibility where it's due, but only after the police have made a determination and your sister speaks to us herself. Giving me the runaround? You think I'm stupid? Sean barked. David Miller, as Brenda's direct supervisor, couldn't stay silent. He stepped up. Sean, listen, we'll make sure justice is served, but these things take time. Asking for $500,000 right now is just unreasonable. Who the hell are you? Mind your own business. Sean swung a heavy hand toward David's face. Before the blow could land, a foot shot out and caught Sean square in the ribs. He flew backward, stumbling until his rear hit the floor with a dull thud. The foot belonged to Ethan. There was no way he was letting his old man get hit. Between the old grudges and the new ones, Ethan didn't hold back. You little punk. You're dead. Sean wheezed, but the rest of his threat died in his throat as the police finally burst through the doors. Fiona immediately rushed forward to file her complaint. The farce finally came to an end. Ethan had to go down to the precinct to give a statement. but since he was defending his father, it was a clear-cut case of self-defense. On the way, Ethan felt Sean's venomous glare burning into him. But Ethan had lived 2 lives. He wasn't the scared teenager he used to be. He stared back cold and unfazed. By 5:30 that evening, Ethan was on the back of David's motorcycle, heading home. He already knew Joe Dawson's fate, fired. But the story had taken a bizarre turn. While Ethan was at the precinct, Brenda Reed had rushed in, bruised and battered. Apparently, her husband, Grant Reed, had beaten her when the mistress rumors surfaced. She was there to recant her statement, claiming Joe hadn't forced her, that it was consensual. Ethan wondered if Joe had dirt on her, or if she was so desperate to escape her marriage that she was betting everything on Joe. But Joe had a wife of his own. It was a messy, tragic tangle. In the end, Artie Henderson fired her too. As for Sean's payout, he didn't get a single cent. Ethan was satisfied. He couldn't destroy Joe Dawson in one day, but he could dismantle him piece by piece. He wouldn't show mercy to those who had ruined his family in the previous timeline. At the Vance residence, Maya was humming signs while busy in the kitchen. Between her studies, the Ice Queen of Oak Ridge High had a secret passion: cooking. Her classmates would have been stunned to see her like this. At 6 o'clock, her mother, Teresa Vance, returned from work. Her first question was about the preliminary scores. Maya answered nonchalantly, "I think I'm looking at a 660. Teresa nodded, impressed. "I heard the exams were brutal this year." "A 660 is incredible. Your aunt called today. She's already looked into it for you. Chicago University is a lock." "But, honey, are you sure you want to go into medicine? It's an exhausting life. If you went into the civil service, your grandfather could help smooth the path." Maya's hands paused. "I'll think about it." Teresa was genuinely surprised. It was just a suggestion. She hadn't expected Maya to actually hesitate. It wasn't like her. "What majors are you looking at, Maya? I can help you look over the options." "I'm not sure yet. There's still time." "Olay, Norus." Teresa watched her daughter for a moment before heading to her room. Maya held her spatula, biting her lip. "Where's that guy going to go?" At the Miller household, Elena was also grilling her son about his scores. For parents of a senior, nothing else in the world mattered. Ethan hesitated, putting on a worried face. "I think." Elena's heart sank. "It's okay, Ethan. Just say it. Even if you don't get into community college, we'll just hold our heads high when the neighbors talk. Your father and I can always, I don't know, have another kid and try again." David nudged her. "Can you try to be a little positive?" "I'm trying to comfort him." Elena snuppered. "Look at him. He's probably going to have to retake the year. This idiot decided to confess to a girl right before the exams and got rejected. How could that not affect his brain?" Ethan looked at her. "I think I can guarantee a 500 plus, maybe even over 600. "Are you serious? I heard it was incredibly hard this year." "You forget who my mother is. I got good genes. You little brat. I've been holding back from yelling at you for days, so I wouldn't stress you out. Do you know how hard that was? Confessing right before the finals? You really are something." David beamed. "If that score holds, a 4-year university is a certainty." "Are you sure you didn't miscalculate?" Elena asked. "Give or take. If anything, it'll be higher." Elena let out a massive sigh of relief. She suddenly lunged forward, grabbing Ethan around the waist, tried to lift him and spin him around. But Ethan was nearly 6 feet tall, and she was barely 100 pounds. She couldn't budge him. Finally, she just hopped up, clinging to him like a koala, and planted 2 loud kisses on his cheek. "Good job, son. Your father's secret stash? From now on, it's all yours." David's smile froze. "Wait, it's just an estimate. It doesn't count yet. Let's wait for the official results." "Dad," Ethan said, squinting, "are you planning to move the money?" "I'll keep it safe for you," Elena declared. "Is it a lot?" Ethan asked, suddenly curious. "How much are we talking about?" Then, Elena Miller began to perform magic. She reached into a shoe box on the top shelf of the rack and pulled out $1,000. Then she went to a dusty decorative vase in the corner of the living room and fished out 2 rolls of bills, another 1,000. Then to the kitchen, where she reached into an old ceramic sugar jar and pulled out a thick stack. Ethan watched his father's face. David looked like he was being poked with a hot iron. His eye was twitching. Aside from the cash hidden in various corners, Elena produced a debit card and slapped it on the table like a victorious general. "Total is about 25,000. I'll keep it for you. Once those scores are official, it's yours." Ethan nodded vigorously. He wasn't that interested in the money. Keeping his family safe and happy was his real goal. But he was genuinely impressed by his dad. To hide that much money in so many places, the man was a tactical genius. Unfortunately for David, Elena Miller had the eyes of a hawk. Ethan laughed. It was a beautiful sight. Elena looked at David's dejected expression. David, do you have any objections to my methods? Speak up. No objections, David said quickly. Is it no objections, or I don't dare have objections? No, I mean it. I don't have any. David's survival instinct was in overdrive. Then he added, but wait, I remember last time you said Ethan had to get into a top-tier school to get that money. The old man was still trying to save himself. Elena shrugged. I did say that. So, Ethan, if it's not a top-tier school, this secret stash just becomes your tuition and first semester's living expenses. Ethan, underscore. After dinner, Ethan went to his room and locked the door. He stood by his bookshelf, stood on his tiptoes, and pulled down a thick Merriam-Webster dictionary. He flipped the pages. Every few chapters, there were colorful bookmarks. Those bookmarks were cash. Like father, like son, Ethan had his own stash. But as he looked at it, he worried. If his mom could find his dad's tactical hiding spots, had she already found his dictionary? He suddenly missed the future, Venmo, PayPal, digital banking. And God, he missed having a smartphone. As a former tech geek, he missed lurking in group chats and doom scrolling. He shook the thoughts away and counted his money. $1,500. Giving Chubbs 1,000 was definitely a generous move. Now that his father's crisis was averted, he needed to start making real money. But that would have to wait until after the 12th. He called Chubbs and arranged a meet at the park entrance. He stuffed $1,200 into his pocket and headed out. Where are you going? Elena yelled from the kitchen. Going for a run. He jogged down the stairs. Outside the apartment complex, the neighborhood seniors were gathered with their folding chairs and fans, gossiping about everything from ancient history to their grandkids' grades. As soon as they saw Ethan, someone called out, Hey, Ethan, heard you got lucky and scored over 500 on the finals? You're going to be a college man now. Is he lying? Another old man chimed in. This kid has been a troublemaker since he was in diapers. If you're lying to your mom, Ethan, I've got a belt she can borrow. Ethan rolled his eyes. These old fossils. Can't they wish me well for once? My mom really has a big mouth. It hadn't even been an hour, and the whole block knew. If he didn't actually hit 500, he'd have to move to another state to escape the shame. These neighborhood gossips could broadcast his failure to 5 different zip codes. Finally, a kinderwoman spoke up. Don't listen to them, Ethan. They say the rowdy kids are the smartest. You'll do great. But seriously, over 500? Did you cheat? Just go home. Ethan muttered and picked up his pace. He reached the park. Caleb Chubbs, Moore was already there, pacing by the gate like a nervous groom. He looked at the street every few seconds. When he saw Ethan, he practically tackled him. Ethan, my man, not calling me Godfather anymore. Godfather, Sugar Daddy, whatever you want. Okay, have some dignity. Ethan laughed and handed him the $1,000. Chubbs took it with trembling hands, tucking it away like it was a holy relic. I talked to my cousin. She said if I buy $1,000 worth of stock, I can get the socks for 50 cents a pair. Ethan, are you sure you don't want in? It's summer break. Let's live the dream. I've got things to do, Ethan said. And you're selling socks, Chubbs? You don't need a secretary in a corner office. Maybe one day I will. Never stop dreaming, big guy. You know it. Remember in first grade when the teacher asked what we want to be? I said a boss. A big boss. Ethan smiled. Fine. From now on, you're the boss. CEO Moore. Chubbs grinned. Say it again. It feels good. Get over yourself. Come on. I'm taking you somewhere. I'll let you see what it's really like to be a boss. Where are we going? You'll see. Ethan led Chubbs through a maze of side streets until they reached a narrow lane bathed in soft, pink neon lights. It wasn't a crowded area, but every massage spa and foot reflexology shop had a woman in a short skirt and heavy makeup standing by the door. Chubbs' legs went stiff. Ethan, isn't this? Are we really going in there? Just follow me, Ethan said coolly. Ethan walked with confidence. Chubbs trailed behind like a guilty puppy. Ethan noticed Chubbs trying to walk in the middle of the street to stay away from the doors, so he grabbed him and pulled him toward the sidewalk. Stick to the wall. They passed a shop, and a woman in her 30s with a thick layer of foundation and a low-cut top immediately waved them over. Hey, handsome. Want to come in and relax? Ethan looked at her, then pointed at Chubbs. This is CEO Moore. The woman immediately shimmed her shoulders. Good evening, CEO Moore. The woman leaned in close to Chubbs and blew softly on his neck. 18-year-old Caleb Chubbs, Moore had never even held a girl's hand. His face turned shade of red that looked like it might actually catch fire. He scrambled backward, his voice cracking. We. Ethan stood by, watching with a smirk. CEO Moore says he prefers younger girls. Come on, let's try the next place. As they walked away, the woman muttered under her breath, Bunch of punks. Wasting my time. A few doors down, they encountered another woman. This one looked much younger and actually quite pretty. Her outfit was considerably more daring. He's the big boss Moore, Ethan announced, gesturing to his friend. Big boss Moore. You haven't been here in so long. I missed you, the girl said with a thick country accent. She pressed her shoulder against Chubb's, the scent of her strong perfume hitting him like a physical blow. Chubb's teeth were literally chattering. I haven't. I didn't. Whenever Chubbs got nervous, his stutter came back full force. Ethan chimed in again. Big boss Moore wants to know what kind of services you offer. The girl giggled. Hair wash, obviously. Does the boss want a dry wash or a wet wash? Ethan laughed. Shouldn't you ask if he wants the big package or the small one? The girl winked. When a boss comes in, it's always big. Chubbs let out a terrified, robotic laugh. Ethan grabbed Chubb's arm and pulled him away. Sorry, the boss only takes the small ones today. Boss, we have small ones too, the girl called out, but Ethan and Chubbs didn't look back. Ethan wanted to take him to one more experience, but Chubbs had reached his limit. He suddenly took off running, sprinting out of the red light district until he reached a large tree at the main intersection. He leaned against it, gasping for air. Ethan sauntered up to him. So, CEO Moore, how was it? Feeling like a king? Chubbs pointed a shaking finger at Ethan. Ethan, you're evil. How do you know so much? Have you been in those places before? Ethan chuckled. Finally, he's not stuttering. No way. I'm apurisul. Unlike you, Big Boss Moore, who hasn't been there in so long. Ha ha ha. Chubbs jumped to cover Ethan's mouth. Shut up. If anyone hears that, my reputation is ruined forever. Time flew by. Before Ethan knew it, it was July 12th. In his previous life, this was the day David Miller fell from the 8th floor of the Crimson Inn. He had died instantly, his name dragged through the mud. Brenda Reed had sworn he had forced her into it, and Elena had been so distraught she'd gotten into a fatal car accident shortly after. Ethan woke up early. He couldn't sleep. He stood on the balcony, watching the darkness fade into the quiet light of dawn. Brenda Reed had recanted her testimony to save Joe Dawson from prison. Under the law, an affair wasn't a criminal offense, and since she claimed it was consensual, the assault charge was dropped. However, Artie Henderson had still fired Joe, crushing his dreams of becoming vice president. But Joe had been with the company for years and still had loose ends to tie up at the office, so he was still lurking around. Ethan couldn't let his guard down. Eastern Construction was still holding their victory banquet at the Crimson Inn today. He had to make sure history didn't repeat itself. Elena was on the day shift, so both parents left early. Ethan spent the morning staring at the TV, but he didn't process a single word. By 11 o'clock, his anxiety was peaking. He decided to head over to his dad's office and keep watch. He was terrified that the timeline was trying to correct itself. Suddenly, the landline rang. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He lunged for the phone. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. In his last life, it was a phone call that brought the news of his father's death. Even though it was still morning and the timing was different, he was shaking. Hello, who is this? Ethan's voice was low and tense. Me. A bright, sweet voice chirped on the other end. Ethan blinked, the tension draining out of him. He recognized the voice. It was Tiffany Sterling, the girl with the roster. It was a miracle. Tiffany knew his home number, but had never called it once in all the years he'd pined for her. What do you want? Ethan asked coldly. On the other end, Tiffany bit her lip. She had finally gathered the courage to call him, and he sounded like she was a telemarketer. He's supposed to be excited, she thought. He's supposed to say, Tiffany, I'm so happy you called. I still love you. But he sounded like a stranger. Ever since that day at the restaurant, he had been a different person. He had cut her off completely. It was infuriating. Tiffany's eyes welled up. She almost hung up, but she held on. Ethan, let's stop fighting. Can we just go back to how things were? Ethan was silent for a few seconds. We were never together, Tiffany. There's nothing to go back to, and I'm not fighting with you. Yes, you are. You told me you don't like me anymore, and you're ignoring me. Do you have any idea how much that hurts? Do you like me, Tiffany? Ethan asked. I like you a little bit. Ethan, just give me some time. But I don't like you anymore, Ethan interrupted. Ethan, how can you be so mean? She cried, her voice cracking. Is it because of Maya Vance? What is going on between you two? None of your business. Ethan, you've changed. Get real. You and Maya Vance aren't in the same world. Once college starts, you'll never see her again. It's impossible. Ethan frowned. Let me make one thing clear. My lack of interest in you has nothing to do with Maya. I'm just tired. There are things in life more important than chasing someone who doesn't want me. You said it yourself. We're young and immature. You were right. We're just kids living off our parents. Let's not make it more than it is. We're classmates, and that's it. Good luck with your college apps. I have to go. Wait, Ethan. What is your relationship with Maya? Classmates. But you... Click. Ethan hung up. He knew why she called. She saw him getting close to Maya and felt like her favorite toy had been stolen. The phone rang again immediately. Ethan was annoyed now. She just won't give a rest. He picked up and snapped. Tiffany, what part of I'm busy don't you understand? There was silence on the other end. Then a voice like silk and song drifted through the line. Were you just on the phone with Tiffany Sterling? Maya. Ethan recognized the voice instantly. Maya's voice was distinct, clear, with a soft, melodic undertone. But right now, there was a sharp edge to it. He hadn't expected her to call right after he'd hung up on Tiffany. If you still want to talk to Tiffany, I can hang up so you can call her back, Maya said. No need. I have nothing to say to her. Did she call you? Yeah. How did you get my home number? Ethan hadn't given it to her. You forgot about the class directory. Right? The directory. So what's up? I was just about to head out. Nothing was more important than his dad right now. Something happened, Maya said, her voice dropping. What happened? Joe Dawson, she said. Ethan froze. What about him? He's in the hospital. He was stabbed, and then he fell from a 4-story window. And that woman. She's hurt too. Ethan, I want to see you. Can you come out? I'm a little scared. Ethan's brain went white for 5 seconds. Ethan? Ethan, I'm here. Where are you? I'll come to you. The gate of Springfield Gardens. The name sounded familiar. Ethan realized it was the apartment complex where Brenda Reed lived. He'd seen it on the employee contact list in his dad's office. I'm on my way. He hung up and immediately dialed his dad's cell. David picked up quickly. Dad? Everything okay over there? Yeah, Fine. We're getting ready for the banquet tonight, so I won't be home for dinner. Your mom is at work, so just grab something yourself. Okay, good. His dad didn't know yet. If he did, he wouldn't be so calm. Ethan rushed out and hailed a taxi. As he sat in the cab, looking at the familiar old streets of Oak Ridge, he was lost in thought. In his last life, David fell and died on this day. In this life, Joe Dawson fell and was stabbed. Was this some kind of karmic exchange? Was his rebirth permanent, or would he be snatched back once he changed the past? He hoped to God it was permanent. He finally had something to live for. Thunder rolled across the sky. The clouds were bruised and heavy. Big storm coming, the driver said. The weather report says a hurricane is brushing the coast. Rain began to lash against the windshield. When they reached Springfield Gardens, an ambulance was just pulling out of the complex. Ethan squinted as they passed it. He paid and jumped out. He looked around and saw Maya Vance. She was wearing a beige dress, huddled under the awning of a small convenience store. She looked like a frightened bird, her arms wrapped around her chest, head down. Ethan was stunned. This wasn't the Ice Queen he knew. This was someone fragile. He ran through the rain toward her, getting soaked in seconds. Maya. She looked up. Her eyes were dull, but they sparked to life when they met his. What took you so long? She whispered. She reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt, her fingers trembling. Ethan saw a police car leaving the complex. He looked back at her and said softly, Don't be scared. This has nothing to do with you. Lightning split the sky, illuminating Maya's pale face. She flinched and moved closer, pressing her forehead against Ethan's chest. Ethan froze for a second, then gently patted her shoulder. It's okay. Don't be afraid. I am, she whispered. Of what? We didn't do anything wrong. We just did what any good citizen would do by calling it in. The rest is I'm afraid of the thunder. What? Ethan's comforting speech died in his throat. He had assumed her fear was about the violence involving Joe and Brenda, but it was the storm. He almost wanted to laugh. The kickboxing queen is afraid of thunder. I am, she said softly. A massive crack of thunder exploded directly overhead. Maya gasped and threw her arms around him, burying her face in his neck. Outside, the world was a blur of gray rain and white light. Under the awning, the two of them stood locked in an embrace. Ethan had had girlfriends in his previous life, but holding Maya felt different. It felt real. It's okay. Ethan whispered, his hand resting on the small of her back. Her skin was smooth and warm through the fabric of her dress. He didn't notice a black Buick pulling out of the complex. It slowed down as it passed the store. Inside the car, Marcus Vance glared at the sight of his daughter hugging some boy. That's my little girl. He gnashed his teeth and drove around the block before pulling up right in front of the convenience store. He honked the horn twice. Dad. Maya turned bright red and practically shoved Ethan away. Ethan was caught off guard and landed right on his rear in a puddle. Sitting in the back of the protective father's car was an experience in terror. Maya was using a stack of napkins to wipe the water off Ethan's hair and clothes. Ethan kept saying, "I can do it, I'm fine," while Marcus's eyes burned like twin spotlights in the rearview mirror. Ethan tried to explain, "Mr. Vance, please don't misunderstand. Maya and I are just friends. She's afraid of thunder, and I was just a convenient pillar for her to lean on." As soon as the words left his mouth, Maya stepped hard on his foot. Marcus Vance's expression shifted from anger to deep, lingering guilt. He glanced at his daughter through the rearview mirror. "I am sorry, Maya. I should have come to get you sooner. Next time it storms, make sure you stay inside." Maya had been terrified of thunder since she was a little girl. Marcus knew exactly why, and the fault lay entirely with him and his career. Ethan looked at Maya. Her reaction wasn't just a standard fear. She had been paralyzed. "Mr. Vance, why is she so afraid of it?" Marcus sighed. He didn't really want to talk to this kid, but he didn't want Ethan thinking his daughter was broken either. When she was 7, Maya had been in first grade. Her mother, Teresa, was out of town on business, and Marcus was supposed to pick her up from school. But he'd gotten buried in a case and completely forgot. In those days, kids often walked home alone, but a massive storm had rolled in. Because Maya was such a beautiful child, a predator had spotted her and tried to abduct her. The little girl had been clever enough to escape halfway through, but she'd gotten lost in the pitch-black rain and roaring thunder. She was 7 years old, terrified and soaked to the bone, huddling under an awning like a stray cat until a passerby found her. Ethan felt a pang in his chest. Thinking about a 7-year-old Maya going through that was heart-wrenching. "I'm fine now. I'm not that scared," Maya said softly, though she kept her eyes on Ethan. Lightning flashed again. She instinctively leaned closer to him, their shoulders touching. Ethan could feel the tension in her body. She said she wasn't that scared, but her body told a different story. Ethan felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him. Without thinking, he reached down and took her hand. It was cold and soft. Maya's body went rigid. Her heart felt like it had stopped, and she stared blankly at the back of her father's head. "Wait, too much. Cross the line." Ethan realized what he was doing and quickly let go. He felt a bit guilty, wondering if her childhood trauma had made her more withdrawn. Was her high school persona just a defense mechanism? Marcus, watching them through the mirror, frowned. He wasn't thrilled about his daughter being so close to a Miller, especially one whose grades were rumored to be mediocre. "So, Ethan, what were you doing out there?" "Oh, just a coincidence. I was just walking the neighborhood and ran into them." "Mr. Vance, I saw the ambulance and the cops. Was it a murder?" Ethan tried to shift the focus. "Just a domestic dispute. Don't worry about it." Clearly, Marcus wasn't going to spill the beans. Ethan would have to wait to talk to his dad. "Mr. Vance, you can drop me off at the next bus stop. I need to head to my dad's office anyway. Thanks for the lift." "No need," Marcus said. "I'm heading that way anyway." It turned out Marcus had a reason to go to Eastern Construction. Joe Dawson and Brenda Reed were both employees, and he needed to ask about their history at the company. Ethan wanted to listen in, but Marcus kicked him out of the office. Ethan and Maya ended up in an empty break room. "Joe Dawson, I heard he was stabbed right here," Maya whispered, gesturing to her side. "It was Brenda Reed's husband, Grant." Joe tried to climb out the window to get away and fell. Luckily, some awnings broke his fall. Ethan nodded. "And Brenda?" "They say she's disfigured." He used the knife on her face. Ethan winced. Grant Reed, usually a quiet man, had clearly snapped. But Ethan felt no sympathy for Brenda. In his last life, she was the one who directly caused his father's death and never showed a shred of remorse. "How do you know all this?" "I was standing right there when my dad took the call." She looked at him. He said something else. "What?" "Nothing." She squinted at him. "So, why did those two want to hurt your father? What were they planning?" Ethan took a serious tone. "The adult world is complicated and full of toxic nonsense. I want to keep you pure and innocent." Maya's eyes narrowed, and she grabbed his collar. "Are you going to tell me or not? If you tell me, I'll give you the socks I'm wearing today." "Deal," Ethan blurted out before realizing how that sounded. "Wait, what kind of person do you think I am? I don't care about socks. Wait, are they the flesh-colored over-the-knee ones? Are they comfortable? Soft? You really are a pervert." Maya rolled her eyes and stepped back. Ethan sighed. "Great, there goes my reputation. Just sit here. I'm going to see if your dad is done," Ethan said, turning to leave. Suddenly, Maya grabbed the back of his shirt. "If you really want them, I can take them off for you." Ethan froze. He looked back at her. Her eyes were clear and sincere, and he didn't know how to react. Just then, the door swung open. Marcus Vance stepped in, his sharp gaze darting between his daughter and Ethan. The protective father. Was he listening at the door? Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs. He felt like a criminal caught red-handed. Mr. Vance. Heh. Maya was just telling a joke. I think I need to use the restroom. Must have been something I ate. Excuse me. Ethan dodged around Marcus and bolted. Marcus looked at his daughter and smiled. You and Ethan seem to be getting along. Maya went back to her Ice Queen persona. He's all right. Well, I'm done here. I've got to head back to the precinct, but I'm off the clock otherwise. Want to go get some spicy fish for dinner? Maya hesitated. I want to eat with Ethan. Marcus. The protective father felt like he'd been stabbed in the heart. He forced a smile. Phoenix. I'll head to the meeting then. You two have fun. He paused. Do you need money? Maya nodded and held out her hand. I'm treating him. Marcus. As Marcus walked out of the building, the rain felt a lot colder than it had a few minutes ago. Ethan hid in the restroom for a while, half expecting Marcus to bust down the stall door. When he finally emerged, he saw Artie Henderson, the CEO, arriving in a hurry. Artie had obviously heard the news about Joe and Brenda and wanted an update. Artie went straight into David's office. Ethan crept up to the door. The soundproofing at Eastern Construction was terrible. He could hear every word. Within minutes, Ethan had the full picture. Brenda Reed had recanted her testimony to protect Joe, but in doing so, she had effectively ended her marriage to Grant. She probably thought that once they were both free, they could be together. She thought Joe, even without his job, had the connections to take care of her. But she had underestimated the fury of a quiet man, pushed to the edge. That morning, Brenda had gone home to pack her things. Fearing Grant might get violent, she had brought Joe along for protection. Having the man his wife cheated with show up at his front door was the final straw for Grant Reed. He lost it. He'd grabbed a paring knife and gone on a rampage. Ethan heard his dad mention that Joe had lost a kidney and had several broken bones, but he was going to live. Damn it, Ethan thought, sitting on a bench in the lobby. Stabbed, fell 4 floors, and the bastard still survives. He's like a cockroach. As for Brenda, she was disfigured. Grant had slashed her face and even took a piece of her nose. She was ruined. Ethan didn't feel a drop of pity. This was the woman who had helped kill his father in the other timeline. This was justice. However, Artie Henderson brought up something else that caught Ethan's attention. David, we've worked together for a long time. You're the only one here I truly trust. What's on your mind, Artie? You remember Victoria, Joe, who visited yesterday? She's not just some investor. She's the daughter-in-law of the big boss at Westport, and she's got serious vision. She wants to partner with us to start a private real estate development company. I can't leave Eastern Construction right now, but I want you to go. The catch is, you'd have to resign from here. Ethan's jaw nearly hit the floor. He knew exactly who Victoria Joe was. The future richest woman in the state, the chairwoman of Red City Real Estate, worth billions. She was a legend, the Golden Widow. In his previous life, Victoria had partnered with another construction firm because David Miller was, well, dead. That partner had eventually backed out, missing out on a fortune. This is it, Ethan thought. The golden ticket. My dad is going to be a real estate mogul. When the meeting ended and Artie left, Ethan slipped into his father's office. Dad, are you going to be the CEO of a new company? Congrats. We're going to be rich. David glared at him. You were eavesdropping? I was coming in to say hi, heard voices, and waited. The walls are thin, Dad. It's not my fault. You should be worrying about your SATs, not my career. Dad, stop. Even if my scores aren't out yet, this is huge. Real estate is the future. Prices are going to skyrocket. If you get in now, you're set for life. David scoffed. You think you're a prophet? Houses are expensive enough. Only an idiot would pay more than they do now. You're being short-sighted, Ethan argued, his voice rising with excitement. Look at the big cities. Look at the policies, the population growth. Real estate is going to be the most lucrative industry in the country for the next 20 years. Ethan knew he sounded like a madman, but he had 20 years of hindsight. He wasn't predicting. He was remembering. Where are you getting these ideas? David asked, looking at his son like he was a stranger. I'm a high-scoring student, Dad. I read things. What was your GPA again? Get out of here. David sighed. I'll think about it. But I won't be the CEO. I'd just be a partner or a manager. We don't have the capital to lead. That's fine. Being a founding member of a Victoria Joe company is better than being a VP here. Do it, Dad. If you don't, I will. Relax. I have to talk to your mother first. Come on, let's get some lunch. They walked out of the office and saw Maya Vance sitting quietly on the lobby sofa, looking out the window. David pulled Ethan back in the office and shut the door. You little rascal, David whispered, a smirk playing on his lips. I didn't think you had it in you. Marcus Vance's daughter? She's the pride of the city, and you've already got her hooked. You really take after me. Look, I won't ruin your lunch. She's waiting for you. Ethan looked out the window. Marcus's Buick was gone. Why hadn't she left with him? David reached into his pocket and pulled out $300, his real secret stash. He pressed it into Ethan's hand. Maya is a great girl from a good family. I approve. Take her out, get something nice to eat. When are you bringing her home to meet your mother? Ethan stared at the money. Dad, what are you talking about? I just graduated high school. I'm a student. I don't have time for meeting the parents. Oh, please. Who was the one confessing to girls every other week? Now you're suddenly a scholar? Don't lie to your old man. That was a different me. I've reached enlightenment. Love is for losers. And Maya, you're just going to lead her on? If you break her heart, I'll break your legs. Dad, you've had too much coffee. We're just classmates. Her parents would never go for it anyway. We'll see about that. Marcus's wife is a bit of a snob, but if the girl is crazy about you, there's nothing they can do. Here, take another 100. Buy her a gift. He's really dreaming big, Ethan thought. He took the extra 100. Why not? Dad, I thought Mom took all your money. David chuckled. A man always has a backup. A fox has 3 holes to hide in, after all. I'm telling Mom. You wouldn't. Another 100 says I would. Ethan walked out with $500 and a grin. He approached Maya, who was still sitting on the sofa. Should I actually pursue her? He wondered. It would be a hell of a ride. She was the most beautiful girl in Oak Ridge. But then he remembered his past life, the heartbreaks, the drama. He had decided to keep his heart under lock and key. But then Maya looked up and gave him a small, soft smile, and Ethan felt his resolve melting. Hey, Maya. Dad had to run. He had a meeting, she said. Well, he told me to walk you home. But first, let's eat. Chloe and Brooke were strolling through the promenade. What is up with Tiffany? Brooke asked. I invited her to come shopping, and she snapped at me. She's acting like I stole her lunch money. She's in a mood, Chloe shrugged. Is it still about Ethan Miller? Probably. That's crazy. She rejected him. Why is she acting like he's the one who dumped her? All she has to do is call him, and he'll come running like a lost puppy. Chloe shook her head. I don't think it's that simple this time. Why not? Chloe stopped in her tracks, her eyes wide. Brooke followed her gaze. Is that Maya Vance? Brooke gasped. Emerging from a crowd were Ethan and Maya. They were walking slowly, both holding a candy apple. Maya was lightly holding onto the sleeve of Ethan's shirt, a content smile on her face. The Ice Queen was smiling. It was a sight that shouldn't exist. And then they saw something even more shocking. Ethan, mine is too sour, Maya said, holding out her candy apple. Is yours sweet? Yeah, it's fine. I don't believe you. She pulled his hand toward her and took a lick of his candy apple. Yours is better. Let's trade. Chloe and Brooke stood frozen as the pair walked right past them. Was that really Maya? I think so. Does she have a twin? No. Brooke sighed. Tiffany is in for a rough time. Trying to get him back from Maya Vance? Good luck with that. Ethan and Maya had finished a lunch of spicy noodles. It was $19.99. Lunch for 2 cost $12. Ethan still had nearly $500 left in his pocket. They walked into a narrow alleyway toward her neighborhood. Ethan wanted to make sure she got home safe before heading back to check on his dad. Suddenly, a man stepped out from behind a dumpster, blocking their path. He was swinging a thick wooden club. Ethan recognized him immediately. Sean Reed. He looked like he'd been through a blender. He looked desperate and dangerous. Ethan grabbed Maya's hand and turned to run, but 2 more thugs stepped out from the other end of the alley, blocking their retreat. Running already? Where do you think you're going? Sean Reed's dull eyes were fixed on Ethan. He looked like a cornered animal, but when his gaze landed on Maya, his expression turned oily. Well, look at that. The little punk has a pretty girlfriend. Hey, sweetheart, why don't you come over here? I'll show you a good time. You don't want to be with this loser when things get ugly. The 3 men closed in, trapping Ethan and Maya in the center of the alley. Ethan's grip on Maya's hand tightened. Sean, you didn't get enough the first time? Ethan said, trying to stay calm. You want to join Joe Dawson in a hospital bed? Shut your mouth. Sean barked. He'd felt humiliated earlier and wanted blood. Brothers, let's go. Break his legs first. Just then, Ethan pointed toward the end of the alley and shouted, Police! Over here. The 3 thugs flinched and looked toward the street. Ethan lunged for a piece of heavy lumber to use as a weapon, but by the time he turned back, 2 of the thugs were already on the ground. Maya had moved like a blur. A sharp snap of her leg caught the 3rd thug square in the face. Thud! Ethan stared. Sean was clutching his crotch, another man was doubled over holding his stomach, and a 3rd was slumped against the wall, his nose bleeding profusely. Maya stood there, calm and cool as ever. The kickboxing queen wasn't just a nickname. Ethan felt a strange mix of relief and awe. Being protected by a beautiful girl was a new experience. Maya, are you okay? Are you hurt? Ethan dropped the lumber and rushed to check her. Maya was staring at the ground, her lip trembling. My candy apple fell. Oh, right. Ethan blinked. She wasn't upset about the fight. She was upset about the snack. It's okay. I'll buy you another one. I'll buy you 10. I want 10. Deal. Ethan wanted to call the cops, but looking at the pathetic state of the three thugs, he figured they'd probably get in trouble for excessive force if he did. He decided to leave it. But before they left, he walked over and gave Sean a parting kick. Sean, you're a real piece of work. Trying to mug a detective's daughter? You're lucky you're still breathing. If I see you again, you're going away for a long time. As they walked out of the alley, the thugs slowly groaned back to life. The one with the bloody nose kicked Sean. You idiot. You didn't tell us she was a cop's kid. I'm done with you. 10 minutes later, Ethan bought 2 more candy apples. Watching Maya lick the red candy coating was distracting. Ethan had to look away before his brain short-circuited. Maya, your dad isn't the chief of police, right? No. What? I just said that to scare them. I didn't want them coming after you. I can handle them. I know you can. You're amazing. They walked a bit further, but then Maya stopped. Ethan, I can't walk anymore. What? Why? You were just doing Matrix moves a second ago. My foot hurts. Ethan looked down at her sneakers. Are you hurt? Did you pull something? Maya took a bite of her candy apple and nodded. Okay, sit on this bench. Let me see. Maya sat down and held out her hand. Ethan took it, helping her steady herself. He knelt in front of her. Which foot? She held out her left foot. Then she paused, pulled it back, and held out her right one. Ethan looked at her suspiciously. How do you forget which foot hurts? Where does it hurt exactly? Maya hesitated for a second, then pointed to the top of her foot. Ethan gently untied her shoelace and slid off her shoe. He pulled off her sock. Her foot was perfect, pale, soft, and completely unbruised. It doesn't look swollen, Ethan said, looking up at her. Oh, then maybe it was the other one. She held out her left foot. Ethan. Joe Dawson was in custody, Brenda Reed was in the hospital, and Sean Reed was nursing a broken ego. Ethan was confident that the accident that killed his father in the original timeline was officially averted. He dropped Maya off at her apartment around 4 o'clock. Ethan, Maya said at the door, my foot really did hurt. I just, it healed fast. Do you believe me? Ethan smiled. I believe you. You said that too fast. You didn't even think about it. Okay, I really believe you. Better. So, thank me. Thank you. No effort. Try again. Maya, are you trying to get something out of me? Like what? Like, my heart. Shut up. Yes, ma'am. Ethan turned to leave, but he stopped and looked back. I'm going to Chicago for college, Maya. See you tomorrow. Maya's lips curled into a tiny smile. See you tomorrow, Ethan. By 9:30 that night, the Eastern construction banquet was over. Ethan and David walked back into their apartment in Greenwood Estates. Ethan felt a massive weight lift off his shoulders. In his last life, David was already gone by this hour. He had officially changed history. Dad, you were so restrained tonight. You barely drank anything. I think we have some high-end scotch in the cabinet. Let's celebrate. No way, David said. That's a collector's edition. I'm waiting for the value to go up. Ethan sighed. Even in 20 years, that bottle wouldn't be worth a fortune, but he didn't argue. He made a mental note to invest in some blue-chip stocks once he had the capital. Elena came out of the bathroom, her face covered in cucumber slices. No drinking at this hour. Ethan, tomorrow is the day you fill out your college applications. Have you decided what you're putting down? Ethan looked at the green slices on her face. Mom, are those the same cucumbers we ate yesterday? Elena rolled her eyes. So what if they are? A cucumber is a cucumber. David and Ethan both turned pale and rushed for the kitchen and bathroom respectively. I'm kidding. Elena yelled. Don't throw up. I'm the one who has to clean it. I think you're lying about kidding. Ethan yelled back. 10 minutes later, the house was quiet. You guys said you'd be happy if I just got into a state college, Ethan said. So as long as I do that, we're good, right? That was before you scored over 500, Elena said. We have to be strategic. What if I get over 600? Elena scoffed. If you get over 600, I'll call you sir. I'll hold you to that. I'm putting down Chicago University. David stared at him. You're delusional. You need a 600 plus for that. I told you I'm getting it. Whatever you say, sir. The next morning, Ethan was fast asleep when Elena started pounding on his door. Ethan, get up. Phone call. Ethan had started locking his door to prevent his mom from ripping the covers off him. He was in the middle of a great dream, and his morning person filter was non-existent. I don't care who it is. Tell them to go away. It's your Aunt Sarah? Ethan groaned. Aunt Sarah was Elena's sister, Fiona Sarah. Her son, Jordan King, was a junior at State Tech and was the golden child of the family. Ethan wasn't close to his aunt. She was a bragger. She constantly compared Ethan to Jordan, making Elena feel like a failure. What does she want? Ethan grumbled, opening the door. She wants to give you advice on your applications. She asked Jordan to look into the stats for you. Advice from Jordan King? The guy who ends up being a middle manager at a tech firm? No thanks, Ethan thought. But Elena was already handing him the phone on speaker. Hey, Aunt Sarah. Long time no see. Miss you, Ethan said, his voice dripping with sleepy sarcasm. Oh, Ethan, you're such a sweetheart, Sarah laughed on the other end. Elena, I asked Jordan to check the data for Ethan. A friend of his at the Board of Education said that while the exams were hard, the universities are expanding their enrollment this year. So as long as Ethan didn't completely bomb it, like if he got at least a 300, he should be able to get in somewhere. Jordan suggests he looks into teaching degrees. The requirements are lower. And since he likes video games, maybe some low-tier IT program, there are plenty of community colleges in the city that would take him. It's not a top-tier engineering school like Jordan's, but he can always try to transfer later if he works hard. She went on, her voice filled with a subtle, condescending superiority. Elena's face was turning red. She hated being talked down to. Ethan just nodded. Thanks, Aunt Sarah. Tell Jordan he's a real pal. Of course. We're family. So, Ethan, what was your estimate? Oh, you know, here and there. Anyway, I really have to go, Aunt Sarah. Nature calls. Thanks for the call. He hung up before she could pry further. Elena looked at him. Why didn't you tell her? She's been rubbing Jordan's grades in my face for years. I finally had a chance to shut her up. Doing it over the phone is boring, Mom. We're going to Grandma's house in a few days, right? Aunt Sarah will be there. It'll be way more fun to tell her in person when the official results are in. Elena's eyes lit up. You're right. I'll wait. But you better actually have that 600, Ethan. If you don't, I'm going to kill you. I'm 80% sure. Pinch me. I feel like I'm dreaming. Ethan reached out and gave her a sharp pinch on the arm. OW, she screamed. David nearly dropped his toothbrush in the bathroom. Elena chased Ethan around the living room. You little brat. If you don't get that 600, you're dead. Ethan arrived at Oak Ridge High late. The hallways were buzzing with seniors heading to their classrooms to finalize their applications. He walked into his homeroom and saw a strange sight. Maya Vance was sitting at her desk, surrounded by guys from other classes who were trying to figure out where she was applying. These weren't just random students. They were the stars of the school. Julian Vaughn, the school's star athlete and resident heartthrob, was sitting in the seat next to her. He was handsome, rich, and popular. He was every girl's dream. Maya, Julian said with a charming smile, I just want to know if you're staying in-state or heading to Chicago. I'm looking at the same schools. The room was silent, everyone watching the Ice Queen and the Prince. Maya didn't even look at him. She stared straight ahead, her face a mask of cold indifference. That's the ninth guy today, someone whispered. Then another guy approached. Justin, the rich kid Ethan had dealt with before. He sat down, and Maya actually turned to look at him. Did you bring the photos? She asked. The class gasped. She spoke. Yeah, here, Justin said, sliding a photo across the desk. It was a group shot from the restaurant. Maya looked at it and frowned. The other one. Justin sighed and handed over the photo of just her and Ethan. Maya looked at it for a long second, then tucked it into her notebook. You could go now. Justin walked away, looking dejected. Maya looked toward the door, her eyes searching. When Ethan finally walked in, her entire demeanor changed. The ice melted, and a soft light returned to her eyes. Ethan noticed her immediately. Their eyes met, and Maya did something that made the entire room stop breathing. She patted the empty seat next to her and said, her voice like a melody, Ethan, seat. The classroom went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Even the few students still hunched over their college application forms sensed the sudden shift in the atmosphere. They looked up, bewildered, realized everyone was staring at a single spot, and followed the collective gaze. There, under the scrutiny of 50 pairs of eyes, Ethan Miller coolly took the seat right next to Maya Vance. He leaned in and let out a casual, localized complaint. Maya, those candy apples we had yesterday were way too sour. My teeth still ache every time I take a sip of milk today. Silence. More silence. The inner monologue of a dozen guys. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm 80% sure he's bragging. Chloe, however, knew better. I know exactly what he's doing. He's flexing. He's feeding us relationship goals like they're dog treats. A few seconds later, the dam broke. The room erupted in a chorus of dramatic wails. Ethan Miller, you dog. What kind of spell did you cast on our Maya? Maya, snap out of it. What's so great about Ethan? Look at me. I'm like 10 times more athletic. Ethan Miller is playing both sides of the fence. Maya, stay away from the players. There goes my dream girl. Is this how it ends? Is my heart officially shattered? Ethan ignored the guys. Their whining was just background noise to him. But then, a girl who usually didn't have a filter yelled at the top of her lungs. Ethan, Maya, are you guys actually dating? The room went quiet again. Even Tiffany Sterling pricked up her ears, her eyes locked on the pair, waiting for the verdict. Ethan realized there was no dodging this one. He stood up, flashed a grin, and chuckled. All right, everyone, since you're all so desperate to know. Fina, I'll come clean. No more secrets. The truth is, Maya is actually my sister. Yeah, right. Bull. How could you possibly have a sister that's actually out of your league? Ethan raised an eyebrow. You don't believe me? Maya, tell them. What do you call me? Maya turned her cool, crystalline gaze toward him. Her lips parted slightly, and she let out a voice as sweet as honey. Big brother. Damn. It sounded so good it practically made people's bones go soft. It was the kind of big brother that sounded way too affectionate for a sibling, yet perfectly plausible as a lie. The classroom froze for 2 seconds before it absolutely detonated. Holy crap. Are they actually related? Are they cousins? They have to be cousins, right? 3 years. You guys kept it hidden for 3 years? How? Why would you even hide that? That's messed up. Ethan let out a smug, playful laugh. See? Didn't I tell you? My sister's voice is a treasure. I saw the way you guys were looking at her, like a pack of hungry wolves. Of course I wasn't going to tell you. This big brother title is for my ears only. Ethan, you're a menace. Hey, Ethan, do you need a brother-in-law? Ethan, my man, let's grab lunch. My treat. Amidst the chaos, the sharp click-clack of heels echoed in the hallway. Ms. Harris, the counselor, walked in, and the volume slowly died down to a dull roar of whispers. Tiffany and Chloe were deep in a hushed, intense debate. Is Ethan really her brother? Tiffany whispered, her brow furrowed. I've never heard anything about it, Chloe replied. But remember the other day? Their dads left in the same car. It actually makes sense. They kept it so quiet. Not a single hint for 3 years. Actually, it explains everything. Chloe said, her eyes widening. Think about it. Maya is like an ice queen to everyone else. Those popular guys from the varsity team tried to talk to her earlier, and she didn't even blink. But she's different with Ethan. If they're family, it's totally normal. Tiffany nodded, the tension in her expression relaxing slightly. I knew it. I couldn't figure out why Maya would suddenly be into a guy like Ethan. It didn't add up, but this does. Exactly, Chloe added. And there's one more thing. You were in a bad mood yesterday, so I didn't bring it up, but I saw them when I was out with Brooke. What? Doing what? Just walking around. They were both eating candy apples, and Maya was smiling so much it was almost scary. She even took a bite of Ethan's. We totally thought they were dating. But now? Oh, they're just siblings. It makes so much more sense. Otherwise, if Maya was going to date someone, she'd go for Julian Vaughn, right? He's gorgeous, and he's been obsessed with her forever. Julian, Tiffany glanced at her friend, her demeanor returning to its usual icy heights. The knot in her chest had vanished. You like him too, don't you? Who doesn't? Tiffany let out a soft huff. Julian had high standards. She tried to add him to her bench of guys before, but he hadn't shown the slightest interest in her. Ms. Harris began a sentimental speech about their 3 years together at Oak Ridge, dropping a few tear-jerking lines before diving into the logistics of final college applications. As the students began filling out their forms, Ms. Harris made her way over to Maya. Seeing Ethan sitting right next to her, she frowned almost imperceptibly. Ethan's grades were strictly middle of the road. She knew his background, his parents' jobs, his standing, and she'd always considered him a just okay student. But Maya was different. Maya's family background was, if not the most elite at Oak Ridge, certainly in a league most couldn't touch. In Ms. Harris's eyes, Ethan trying to pursue Maya was like a stray cat eyeing a purebred Persian. Maya, could I have a word with you outside? Ms. Harris asked with a professional smile. Maya looked up with those calm eyes and nodded. She turned to Ethan. Don't submit yours yet. Wait for me. Ms. Harris's frown deepened. She shot Ethan a look of mild distaste before leading Maya out. Caleb Chubb's more immediately slid over. Ethan, man, was that for real? Was what for real? The thing you said? You and the prom queen. Are you really related? Oh, that? Why? You got a problem with it? No, of course not. It's just. Ethan cut him off. What are you putting down for your first choice? Chubb sighed, distracted. I was actually going to ask you. What's your plan? Ethan pointed to a line in the college directory. Chicago. University of Chicago. Chubbs gasped. Dude, that requires at least a 600 on the entrance score. You really think you can swing that? I'm set on Chicago. I was thinking about going to State Tech. In Ethan's memory, Chubbs had indeed gone to a mediocre college in another city to study international trade. Back in '99, the bar wasn't that high, but Chubbs' scores weren't exactly stellar. Ethan leaned back. Chicago is a big city. Chubbs? More money, more bosses, more opportunities. Chubbs' eyes lit up. If you're going to Chicago, I'm going too. Which school? Out in the hallway, Ms. Harris went through the motions of checking on Maya's scores and preferences, playing the role of the warm, patient mentor. In truth, Maya was the only student who received this level of VIP treatment. The others would have needed to swap their parents out for more influential ones to get the same attention. Maya remained polite but distant, offering occasional nods. Then Ms. Harris pivoted. What's the deal with Ethan Miller? Is he bothering you? Maya shook her head. Wasn't he just chasing Tiffany Sterling? He even made that big public confession, and now, suddenly he's... Honestly, that boy is a headache. His head isn't his books. He's too busy chasing girls. Maya, don't let him influence you. Your grades are high enough for a top-tier university. He'll be lucky to get into a state school. Especially now. Don't let him talk you into anything. When we go back in, I'll have him move seats. Maya looked at Ms. Harris. Actually, Ms. Harris, I asked him to sit there. What? Maya, why would you? He's my brother. Ms. Harris froze. She had been a counselor for 3 years and had reviewed Maya's file multiple times. She'd never seen anything about her brother. Then again, school files didn't usually list every extended family member or cousin. He's your brother? You mean your cousins? Maya looked down at the tips of her sneakers. Cousins, she whispered. Back in the classroom, Ethan had no idea his sibling, lie had just been used to shut down a counselor. And the best part? Ms. Harris believed it. Why wouldn't she? She couldn't imagine a student like Maya, with her grades and her pedigree, lying about something like that. Maya returned to her seat. Ethan didn't pry about what Ms. Harris wanted. Instead, Maya leaned in and whispered, Ms. Harris thought we were dating. Oh, and what did you tell her? I said you're my cousin. Ah, my little cousin is a genius. I have a feeling that wasn't a compliment. They went back to the forums. Ethan had spent the previous night weighing his options. In his current mindset, the idea of learning a completely new field felt exhausting. He decided to stick with what he knew. At least he wouldn't fail any classes. Maya watched him check a box in the directory. Computer science? If you're doing CS, I'm doing CS too. Ethan paused. Weren't you going to pre-med? How did you know that? I think your dad mentioned it. But computers seem cool too. Being a girl in CS is rough, Ethan warned. Programmers are overworked and stuck in front of screens all day. Even the managers are constantly on call. You'll end up stressed, tired, and probably socially isolated. That sounds terrible. Why are you choosing it then? I'm not going to be a programmer. I'm going to be the boss. For his first choice, Ethan wrote down University of Chicago. After Maya grilled him, he finally revealed his estimated score, 630 plus. Maya's eyes widened. When she realized he wasn't joking, her eyes sparkled like a clear lake in the sun. In the end, she filled out University of Chicago College of Medicine. Chubbs, meanwhile, set his sights on Chicago Business College. Their cutoff last year was 480. With the exams being harder this year and enrollment expanding, he figured he was a shoo-in. Ethan put the same school down as his safety choice. A few yards away, Chloe whispered to Tiffany, Chubbs and Ethan are both aiming for Chicago business. It looks like they're dead set on the city. Every school they picked is in Chicago. Tiffany thought for a moment. Chicago is a big city. I have a relative there. Apparently, getting residency there is incredibly hard now. They're very strict. Then we should aim for Chicago too, Chloe said. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up as city girls. Once the forms were submitted, the reality of graduation began to sink in. The class president, Sarah King, stood up. Let's do a graduation party. Once we leave, it's going to be hard to stay in touch. She wasn't wrong. It was 1999. AOL Instant Messenger was around, but not everyone had it. Cell phones were rare. Organizing a full class reunion was a monumental task. Today is too short notice. Let's set it for next week, July 20th. We'll meet back at the school. We have about $30 left in the class fund. Everyone else just chips in 10. I'll work out the details with the committee. Nobody argued. Sarah was good at her job. As students drifted out of the classroom, summer break officially began. The school cafeteria, in a final display of incompetence, wasn't serving lunch because everyone usually just goes home. Chubbs walked over to Ethan. Hey, let's hit the internet cafe this afternoon. I thought you were a sock mobile now, Ethan teased. Business is closed? I'm working tonight. It's too hot during the day. Nobody buys socks when it's 90 degrees out. I thought you were doing wholesale. Wholesale is wholesale, but a street stall is pure profit. Come on, the cafe. Ethan realized he hadn't been online since he'd returned. For someone from the 21st century, the lack of internet was a special kind of torture. He was about to say goodbye to Maya, but she grabbed the hem of his shirt. I am hungry, Ethan. Ethan felt a jolt. She was really leaning into the little sister act. Chubb shuddered. Looking at the Ice Queen, Maya Vance acting so clingy made the world feel like it was glitching. Ethan didn't have a meal waiting for him at home, either. Spicy noodles, he said. Let's go. As they left, the English teacher, Ms. Thompson, saw Maya following Ethan, her hand still gripping his shirt. She nearly choked on her water. Ms. Harris was standing nearby, and Ms. Thompson whispered, "Did Ethan Miller actually land the prom queen?" Ms. Harris shook her head with a knowing smile. No, you got it wrong. They're related. Cousins. The news, overheard by half a dozen passing students, including Tiffany and Chloe, spread like wildfire. People might doubt Ethan, but they didn't doubt the counselor. She knew the inside scoop. By the end of the day, the rumor was gospel. Ethan Miller is Maya Vance's cousin? Are you serious? That explains why he never went after her. They're family. Man, I should have been nicer to him. Graduation is over now. At least the school's white moonlight hasn't been taken. That's a win for the rest of us. At 1:30 p.m., Ethan, Maya, and Chubbs walked into the cyber den. The cafe was on the second floor. As they climbed the stairs, the walls were plastered with posters. Ethan looked at them with a wave of nostalgia. These were ancient artifacts now. The Legend of the Ancient Blade, StarCraft, Age of Empires, Tomb Raider. There were movie and TV posters too. Friends, The Matrix, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon. The summer break meant the place was packed. They finally found a row of machines. Chubbs bolted for a corner to play Red Alert, while Maya refused to sit anywhere but right next to Ethan. Ethan had to buy a guy in the adjacent seat of Coke just to get him to swap places. Maya, you do your thing. I need to look some stuff up, Ethan said, setting a bottle of orange juice on her desk. He dove into the web. It nearly broke his spirit. He opened a 163.com homepage, and it took 2 full minutes just to load the text. This speed was a test of human endurance. He glanced at Maya. She was already expertly navigating the legend of the ancient blade. On the bulky CRT monitor, he saw the classic pixelated scene of the main character being woken up by his aunt. Maya was tapping the spacebar with practice speed, skipping the dialogue, and moving the character like a pro. The 163 page finally loaded. Ethan stared at it, suddenly unsure of what to do. Should he register a 4-digit email address? He didn't even have anyone to email. Better to grab some ICQ numbers, he thought. A 6-digit ICQ number would be worth a fortune in 20 years. It took him 20 minutes of clicking through the lag to register one. He looked at the number. 6 digits. What happened to the 5-digit ones? Were they already gone? He registered 3 more, all 6 or 7 digits. He lost interest quickly. He was a time traveler. If his best plan for getting rich was selling chat handles in 30 years, he was failing at life. Plus, the interface was so barren it was depressing. No group chats, no stickers, nothing. Ethan, what are you doing? Maya asked, leaning over. You've been making accounts for half an hour. It's a chat program. ICQ. You can talk to people online. If I'm here and you're somewhere else, we can message each other. ICQ was still relatively fresh in the public consciousness, and Maya, who had been focused on the SATs, hadn't seen it yet. Her eyes lit up. She abandoned her game. Make one for me. Ethan gave her one of the extras he'd made. They added each other. Click, click, beep. Chaos Demon Ethan. Hey, little sister. User 5520XX. How do I change my name? A moment later, Demon Slayer Maya. Are you scared of me now? Ethan wanted to send an emoji, but the feature didn't even exist yet. He logged off. He was thinking about the state of the internet. It was a wasteland of opportunity. He couldn't just sit around and wait for Bitcoin to be invented. He needed seed money. Traffic is king, he thought. As he pondered, a guy a few seats over slammed his keyboard. Crap, this game is impossible. Even the Gold Guard editor can't change the stats on this level. Ethan looked over. The guy was fuming. But those words, Gold Guard editor, sparked an idea. Game cheats. In his previous life, the first program he'd ever written was a game trainer. He'd spent weeks reverse engineering the most popular game editors. He could build something that would blow Gold Guard out of the water. In 1999, game cheats weren't even illegal yet. There was a window of a few years where he could make a killing. Selling to individual players was slow, but if he could squeeze the big software companies. Ethan, I'm bored, Maya said, pulling on his sleeve. He looked over. She had kicked off her shoes and was curled up in the chair, her feet in white socks tucked under her. Ethan stared for a second too long. "What are you looking at, weirdo?" she asked, playfully kicking at him. Ethan snapped out of it and caught her foot. "I'm looking at the health hazard," he whispered. "We're in public. Put your shoes on before you take out the whole room." Maya's face went crimson. "My feet don't smell." "Prove it." Ethan made a move as if to lean in, and she promptly kicked him in the shoulder. "Does that feel like it smells?" Okay, Ethan said, sitting back. "Let me teach you a game. StarCraft." He found a shortcut on the desktop. It had been out for a year. 10 minutes later, he gave up. Teaching an RTS to someone who had never played one was a nightmare. She kept asking things like, "Why is that bug a house?" And "Wait, someone is hitting my bug house." "Maya, let's just watch a movie," Ethan said. "Games are too much work." They found a shared folder on the server. Maya scrolled through until she picked a horror movie, Troublesome Night. For a girl who could probably take down 3 guys in a fight, she was surprisingly jumpy. She spent half the movie gripping Ethan's collar, whispering, "I'm scared." Ethan had his doubts. Was she playing him? The hunter acting like the prey? He had no evidence, but the reverse psychology vibe was strong. By the time the movie ended, it was after 4 p.m. Ethan checked in with Chubbs, who was still deep in his game. Chubbs reminded Ethan about the street stall tonight. Ethan dropped Maya off at her gate. "Big brother," she called out as he walked away. "You're really sticking with that?" "It was just a joke." "It's fun," she laughed and pouted. "I'm going to Chicago tomorrow. I won't see you for a whole week." "Why Chicago?" "My little brother is there staying with my aunt. My dad has a business trip there anyway, so..." "Got it. Well, safe travels. See you." As Ethan walked away without looking back, Maya huffed. "Still the same, treating me like I'm invisible." But then she smiled, thinking about the college applications. He's so smart, but his grades were always so bad. Was he doing it for Tiffany? Well, this time, I'm not letting any other girl trick him. Ethan got home, crashed on the sofa, and turned on the cable TV. He was waiting for his mom to start dinner. In his mind, having a mom around to cook was one of the greatest perks of being back in '99. But then the phone rang. "Ethan, I have to work a double shift. You and your dad are on your own for dinner." "Oh, how did the applications go?" "Fina, they won't change my scores." "True. Okay, I'm eating at the hospital. Bye." Ethan hung up. "Great. Can Dad even cook?" In his memory, David Miller's cooking was barely edible for dogs. The phone rang again. It was David. "Son, I'm working late. Tell your mother I won't be home for dinner." "Did you guys plan this?" "I finished my exams, and suddenly I'm an orphan." "Your mom isn't home either?" "Double shift." "Well, you're a big boy. You won't starve." Ethan sighed. "Fina, hey, does the office have any old computers they don't use? My major is CS. I want to get a head start." David laughed. "Look at you, being responsible. Old computers. Just that one you used to play on. That dinosaur? It takes 10 minutes just to boot. I need something better. That's all there is, Ethan. The rest are company property. I'd have to clear it with the boss, even for the old one." "Fina, better than nothing." Ethan made himself a bowl of noodles and spent the rest of the evening at the Springfield Gardens Promenade. This was where he and Maya had eaten candy apples, and it was where Chubbs had set up his sock stall. He found Chubbs near the east entrance. There was a black tarp on the ground with hundreds of pairs of socks laid out. A megaphone was blaring. Direct from the factory, $3 for 2 pairs. Don't miss out. But the biggest surprise wasn't the socks. It was the girl sitting next to Chubbs. She was gorgeous. Not quite Maya's level, but definitely more striking than Tiffany. She wore a white fitted tee and denim shorts that showed off long, tanned legs. She was sitting on a plastic stool, idly swinging her feet in sandals. Where did Chubbs find her? She was basically a human billboard. People were stopping just to look at her, though not many were buying. Ethan was staring, trying to figure out if Chubbs had hired her, when the girl suddenly stood up. She whipped a bundle of socks at Ethan's chest. "What are you looking at?" she snapped, grabbing his shirt. "You've got a lot of nerve. Do you want to crawl under the stool and get a better look? Or are you done?" Ethan froze. She was fiery. I wasn't." Chubbs jumped in. Maddie, let go. This is my classmate." "Your classmate?" "Yeah, my best friend, Ethan." She let go but didn't stop scowling. "So, classmates can be creeps too. You should watch who you hang out with." "Maddie, please. This is Ethan Miller. He's the one who lent me the money for the inventory." Ethan realized this was Madison, Chubb's cousin. "Oh, you're the cousin. Look, it was a misunderstanding. I wasn't staring at your legs. I was just surprised Chubbs found someone so pretty to help him. I spaced out." "Spaced out?" "More like lusting out," Madison said, though she sat back down. She tapped Ethan on the chest. "At least you have good taste. I'll give you a pass this time." She looked at the small crowd. "Are you guys buying or just taking up space? Move it along." The crowd dispersed, disappointed that there wasn't going to be a fight. Ethan pulled Chubbs aside. Dude, you never told me you had a cousin this hot. Chubbs looked annoyed. And you never told me you were related to Maya Vance. We've been in the same class for 3 years. Ethan looked at him. You actually believe that? Chubbs blinked. What? It's not true. Of course not. We've known each other since we were kids. If she was my cousin, my mom would have told your mom a decade ago. Wait. So Ms. Harris actually bought it. I didn't tell her. Maya did. Man. Chubbs grinned. So you're actually dating the prom queen? That's insane. Everyone in school is going to be so pissed when they find out. We're not dating, Ethan said, though the memory of her calling him Big Brother felt a bit more significant now. Did she actually like him? Or was he just a lucky guy who returned at the right time? Anyway, Ethan changed the subject. How's business? People look, but nobody buys. I made $6 in an hour. He paused. To be honest, I wouldn't even be here if Maddie didn't drag me. I'm too nervous. Ethan looked at Madison. She was staring right back at him, her chin tilted defiantly. She wasn't shy at all. Did she help you with the wholesale deals too? Chubbs nodded. I couldn't get the words out. But Maddie, she heard about your consignment idea and thought it was brilliant. She handled the pitch. What does she do? She's an accountant. Does some sales too. Suddenly, a hand landed on Ethan's shoulder. Madison's voice, clear as a bell, rang in his ear. Hey kid, what are you whispering about? Thinking of asking me out. Ethan looked at her. Not a chance, Maddie. Oh, I'm not pretty enough for you. You're very pretty. Probably the prettiest girl on this street. But I believe the wise shouldn't fall in love. Dating is for the dogs. Making money is the only real goal. Madison paused, surprised. That was the most refreshing thing she'd heard all year. You know what? I like that. You got a brain in that head. I'll count you as a younger brother. Now, get over here and help us sell. Loud as you can. Ethan wasn't about to start shouting in the street. Look, we have a megaphone. We don't need to yell. You're just shy, Madison teased. If you want to be a boss, you have to lose the ego. Shout. Chubbs, terrified of his cousin, started a weak, strained chant. Get your socks here. $1.50 a pair. Louder. Madison turned to Ethan. Your turn. My throat hurts. Ethan lied. Besides, your pitch is boring. It's not grabbing anyone. You have a better one. Maybe. Give me that megaphone. Ethan took the device and walked to a quiet corner. He needed to record a classic 90s-style street hustle. 5 minutes later, he returned. What did you record? Madison asked. Just listen. Ethan turned the volume to max and hit play. A rhythmic, high-energy voice blared out. Attention, everyone. The garment factory has gone bust. The owner ran away with his mistress, and the heartbroken wife is selling everything for pennies. Everything must go to pay the debts. Normally $5 a pair. Now, $3 for 2. Massive liquidation. Buy 2, get 1 free. Buy 3, get 2 free. Don't let the mistress win. Support the wife. The effect was instantaneous. People all over the promenade stopped. A scandal? A mistress? A liquidation sale? Curious crowds swarmed the stall. They wanted to see the heartbroken wife. Madison stood there, looking at the crowd, realizing she was the only one who looked the part. She wanted to kill Ethan, but she had a role to play. Ethan jumped in as a shill. Wait, lady, you're the wife? That's terrible. You're so beautiful. How could he run off with his mistress? How hot could his mistress even be? Hey, I've seen these socks at the department store for $5 a pair. At this price, it's practically stealing. Give me 10 pairs. No, give me 30. Chubbs caught on. Yes, liquidating everything. Once it's gone, it's gone. Madison gritted her teeth and played along. Thank you, young man. You're very kind. The dam broke. People swarmed. $5 socks for less than $2? Everyone loves a bargain, and everyone loves a scandal. I'll take 30 pairs. Give me 60. Do you have kid socks? I want a whole box of the cotton ones. Do you do wholesale? Chubbs was a blur, taking money and bagging socks. Even Madison was busy. By the time they finished, their inventory was gone. They had to call David to drive over with the rest of the boxes from the garage. An hour later, they were completely sold out. After costs, they made nearly $1,000 in profit. Chubbs wanted to split it 3 ways. Keep it, Madison said. I was just here for the show. Ethan shrugged. I didn't do much. It's your business, Chubbs. I've got things to do. See ya. Wait, Madison called out, her long legs catching up to Ethan in a few strides. I'm buying you a milkshake. Ethan nearly tripped. A milkshake. Madison laughed, catching the look in his eye. She shoved his shoulder. What's that look for? You're too young for anything else. Come on. You're the one who said it. I'm in a treat. There's a dairy shop up ahead. Ethan followed her. He realized Madison was a spitfire, about 23, worked a real job, and definitely didn't lack confidence. I like you, Ethan, she said as they walked. You lent Chubbs $1,000, you helped us sell out, and you don't even want the profit. You're a weird kid, and you're a good cousin. Chubbs would have failed without you. She got him a large strawberry shake. It was $1, a luxury in '99. Ethan sipped it, thinking. The next day, David delivered the dinosaur computer to Ethan's room. It was an old Easter construction machine. Dad, take me to the tech market. I need parts. What for? You have a computer. This thing is a paperweight. I need to upgrade it. Since what do you know about computers? I'm a CS major now, Dad. I've been reading. David drove him to the local tech mall in his black sedan. He gave Ethan $500, money he claimed he'd borrowed, though Ethan knew it was his secret stash. Ethan spent $380 on a 64 megabytes RAM stick. It hurt to pay that much, but he needed the speed. He bought a Windows 98 installed disk, some tool disks, and a copy of the Gold Guard game editor, pirated of course. He also grabbed a few 44 megabytes floppy disks. A woman at a stall tried to sell him special movies from Japan and Europe. Ethan politely declined, citing his lack of funds. Back home, he spent 3 days locked in his room. He upgraded the RAM, installed Win 98, and went to work. He wasn't making a new game. He was making a game buddy, a sleek, user-friendly trainer that would bypass the clunky interfaces of the big corporate editors. He used a 21st century encryption algorithm to protect his source code, something that wouldn't be cracked for decades. He finished the core logic in 72 hours. He left a hidden backdoor in the code, then went to the internet cafe to upload it. He wrote clickbait titles for the forums. Shocking. 99. 9% of gamers can't stop using this tool. Terrifying. One man uses this to beat the final boss in 10 seconds. Inside the posts, he touted the Game Buddy, fast, free, and so easy an 80-year-old grandmother could use it. He left his ICQ number and email. He left the cafe at 10 p.m. As he walked toward the Greenwood Estates gate, he saw a woman stumble out of a car. She was clearly drunk. A man climbed out after her, grabbing her arm. Karen, you can't go in like this. Let me help you to your apartment. I'm Fine. No, you're not. If something happens, it's on me. I insist. I said, back off. Karen, come on. I just want to take care of you. Ethan recognized her. It was Karen, the gorgeous manager of the Crimson Inn who lived across the hall from him. She was 26, sharp, and currently in trouble. Ethan didn't hesitate. He marched over and put an arm around Karen, pulling her away from the man. Karen, there you are. Why'd you drink so much? I've been waiting for you. He turned to the man, his eyes cold. Who are you? Why is my sister in this state? The man blinked, surprised. I'm her brother. A driver stepped out of the car. Watch your tone. You're speaking to the new district commissioner, Silas Goodwin. Commissioner Goodwin raised a hand, stopping the driver. He smiled at Ethan. It's all right. Karen had a few too many at the banquet. I want to make sure she got home safe. Thanks, Ethan said shortly. I've got her now. Of course. I'll see you at work, Karen. Rest up. Ethan walked Karen into the complex. The car waited until they were inside before pulling away. In the car, the driver muttered, Sir, I didn't know she had a brother. We were so close. Goodwin lit a cigarette. Patience. A woman like her is like fine tea. She's better when you let her steep. We'll have another chance at the next dinner. Sir, the medication. We'll see. Keep driving. Inside the lobby, Karen leaned against a planter and threw up. Ethan held her hair back, ignoring the smell. Once they were in her apartment, she collapsed onto the sofa. Thanks, Ethan. You're a lifesaver. Karen, who were those guys? Bureaucrats, she spat. Think they're kings because they have a title. Goodwin wouldn't stop pouring me drinks. Ethan looked at her. She was a mess, but still striking in her work skirt and blouse. He remembered a story from his previous life. A commissioner named Silas Goodwin who had been taken down years later for drugging and filming women. Karen, listen to me, Ethan said seriously. I've heard things about that guy. Rumors about him using supplements on women to get what he wants. You need to be careful. If he gets you on tape, you're finished. Karen froze. The color drained from her face. You think he'd do that? I think he's a predator. Don't go to any more private dinners with him. Karen let out a string of curses. He thinks he can play me. I'll bury him. Ethan left her apartment and opened his own door. He found a figure standing in the dark. Jesus. Ethan nearly jumped out of his skin. Dad. David Miller was standing in the shadows of the living room. Where have you been? And why were you across the hall? Dad, you're like a ghost. I was helping Karen. She was drunk. Helping? Or helping? Ethan, you have Maya. Karen is way too old for you. What are you thinking? Ethan rolled his eyes. Dad, really? You think I'm that smooth? She's a neighbor. I did a good deed. Do you want to check my pulse, or can I go to bed? Oomph. Just stay out of trouble. Meanwhile, in a high-end apartment in Chicago, a tech executive named James Vance slammed his mouse. This game is a piece of crap. The levels are impossible. He had been stuck on a boss in Lords of Wushu for 2 days. He'd bought GoldGuard, the most popular editor, but it kept crashing his save file. He went to a gaming forum to vent and saw Ethan's post. Shocking. 99.9% of gamers can't stop using this tool. He clicked it. Game Buddy. Game Buddy? What kind of name is that? He looked at the comments. User 1. I thought this was a virus, but it's legit. User 2. This thing is magic. 1 click, and I'm a god. User 3. Forget GoldGuard. This is the future. James downloaded it. He was shocked to find it didn't even need an installation. He double-clicked, and it worked instantly. It even fixed his corrupted save file. Holy, who wrote this? The next morning, at the headquarters of GoldGuard Software, the CTO, Sean, walked in with a coffee. He was feeling good. He'd just come up with a new encryption for their next release. His lead developer, Miller, ran up to him. Sean, we have a problem. A big one. Relax, Miller. What is it? A new tool called Game Buddy went viral last night. It's faster, more accurate, and it does things our software can't even dream of yet. Sean snorted. Impossible. Let me see. 10 minutes later, Sean was staring at the screen in disbelief. How was the search algorithm this fast? It's like it knows where the data is before it even scans. Can we crack it? Sean tried. He ran a brute force decompiler. Beep. The screen went blue. Blue screen of death. The system crashed? It has a self-destruct trigger. They spent 2 hours recovering the OS. The Game Buddy file had vanished. This guy didn't just write a cheat. He wrote a masterpiece, Sean whispered. And the worst part? It's free. There's an ICQ number on the README file, Miller said. Handle is Chaos Demon Ethan. Middle schooler? Sean guessed. Or someone from the Academy of Sciences messing with us. Either way, we need to talk to him before he kills our business. Ethan slept in until his mom, Elena, dragged him out of bed. Ethan, get up. Your grandma called. She wants you at the house today for her roast goose dinner. Mom, it's summer break. I don't care. Your cousin Riley is already there. She says she needs help with her homework. Riley, Ethan remembered his cousin. She was 2 years younger, a total tomboy who preferred catching frogs in the creek to doing math. The idea of her asking for homework help was the biggest lie of the century. Ethan's grandparents lived in the foothills of Niners Hill, on the outskirts of the city. He took 3 buses and finally arrived at 10 a.m. He found Riley Miller by the well, cleaning a pile of fresh fish. You the one who needs homework help? Ethan asked. Riley grinned, her dimples showing. Homework is for losers, Ethan. I just wanted you to get here early so we could go to the creek. You're a menace. His grandparents came out beaming. In his previous life, Ethan had lost them shortly after his parents' accident. They'd died of broken hearts. Seeing them now, healthy and laughing, made his chest tighten. I'm going to make sure you live to 100, he thought. After a massive lunch, Riley pulled Ethan aside. Hey, forget the books. Let's head up the hill. I found a new fishing spot.